And around 9 o'clock, he just said that he'd go to bed. And Mum was sitting out in the kitchen. And there wasn't anything unusual for Stephen to go to bed at that time because he was up so early the following morning. And he just asked her for 2 paracetamol. And she said, "Are you all right, son?" Because she always called him son. "Are you all right, son?" And he said, "I have a bit of a headache maybe or something," and he just needed 2 paracetamol. So she gave him the 2 paracetamol and she said, "Do you think you'll be able for work in the morning?" And he said, "I'll see you in the morning. I'll make my mind up then when I wake up." And there was no more said. It was just, "Good night, son."
On Thursday, the 19th of December 2013, South East Radio's breakfast show, presented by 47-year-old Stephen Dee, began as normal.
South East Radio's breakfast show with Stephen Dee. Wakey, wakey!
Wakey, wakey is the word. Good morning. It's Thursday, December 19th.
Why don't you come home? Is this going to lead and go on forever? How come you leave me all alone? Oh, Rosita, I have to go shopping downtown for me mother. She needs some ribsticks.
How are you?
I can't believe we paid this guy to come in and do this every morning. Thanks a lot for that, Freddie.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye, Fred.
Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
In the Hollywood Hills.
Later that night, tragic news emerged, and the next morning, the radio station's managing director, Eamon Buttle, had to make this announcement.
I'm sorry to say I'm the bearer of some very sad and shocking news this morning. Our dear friend and colleague, Stephen Doherty, or as many of you at home would know him better as our breakfast show host, Stephen Dee, has passed away suddenly at his home in Waterford last night. He was a young man who just turned 47 last Friday. He was in great form and was his usual jovial self at work yesterday. All I can say now is our thoughts and prayers are with his mother Ina, his brother Peter, his sister Imelda, his extended family and friends, all who are trying to come to terms with this shocking news. May he rest in peace.
Just days before Christmas, a sense of shock descended on all of the staff and listeners to South East Radio who couldn't believe the news. 47-year-old Stephen Dee had died unexpectedly from a heart attack. Over 35,000 people viewed the announcement of his death on South East Radio's Facebook page, and hundreds posted messages of sympathy. For the first time since his passing, his family has spoken openly about Stephen Dee's last hours. His sister Imelda Duggan describes what happened when he left work and arrived home.
On the day he died, he came home and he took a rest after, which he'd normally do after work. And he got up and himself and my brother sat down and they watched the Great Race, which again is an old tradition for us in our family. We loved the Great Race, the three of us with Jack Lemmon in it, and my father would have loved that movie as well. And around 9 o'clock he just said that he'd go to bed, and Mum was sitting out in the kitchen, and there wasn't anything unusual for Stephen to go to bed at that time because he was up so early the following morning. And he just asked her for 2 paracetamol. And she said, "Are you all right, son?" Because she always called him son. "Are you all right, son?" And he said, "I have a bit of a headache maybe or something," and he just needed 2 paracetamol. So she gave him the 2 paracetamol and she said, "Do you think you'll be able for work in the morning?" And he said, "I'll see you in the morning. I'll make my mind up then when I wake up." And there was no more said. It was just, "Good night, son." And he went upstairs, and a half an hour after that, at 9:30, Mammy decided she was going up to bed. And then around 5 to 10, while she was in bed, she heard the bang. And she wasn't quite sure what had happened, but she got out of the bed and she went into Stephen's room, and Stephen was lying on the ground. He had fallen out of the bed. He was still dressed, which would be unusual because if he was going into bed, he would have got undressed. So we're not sure whether he lay down, maybe not feeling too good, and lay down just on the bed in his clothes. Shortly after that, Mammy called for Peter. Peter was downstairs, and he went straight upstairs, and Stephen had kind of fell between the locker and the bed, and they pulled him out and tried to roll him over. Mum said she knew straight away that Stephen was gone when she looked at him. And Peter got straight on the phone for the ambulance, And because I'm only living around the corner, he got straight on the phone to me. So he just, when I answered the phone, it's unusual to get a call at that hour of the night from the house, you know. I knew that there was something wrong. And when I picked up the phone, Peter just said to me, Mel, Stephen has gone down, he said. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, he's down, he's man down. He said, man down. He said, he's dead. And I just dropped the phone. I jumped into the car, because it's a hill up to the house, and I said I'd be quicker, like just getting in and driving up, and pulled up outside, ran in the door. Stephen was just laying there, lifeless, and I tried to give him CPR. And I wasn't quite sure how to, how to do it, only from what I have seen on TV and stuff. But I thought, this is worth a go, like, he can't be gone. So Mum was holding his hand, and I bent down and I tried to give him mouth to mouth and, pump his heart. And there was some fluid came up, and I thought, this is great. This is what you see on the telly now, it's clearing and he's going to come back any minute. So I kept pounding away, and Mum just said to me, Mel, she said, stop, love. She said, stop, he's gone. I said, he can't be gone, Mum. And she said, he is, love. She said, just let him go. She said, he's gone. So shortly afterwards, it was kind of mayhem, because I was there saying, no, this is not right, and her Stephen can't be gone. And Mum was crying for her baby, like, just gone. Peter was making calls, like, just anyone help us to bring him back. And so the ambulance came, and they went straight up and asked us all just to clear the space that they wanted to work on him. And they did so for a good maybe 20 minutes to a half hour, and pronounced him dead. I think Michael, a part of us went that night, for all of us.
That must have been just a very emotional bedroom to be in on that particular...
It was just surreal, how could this have happened? And had it happened, was it real? Was it after happening? And surely to God, like, he can't be gone that fast. When they came down the stairs to speak to us, they said to my mother, who's his doctor? And my mum said, love, we have no doctor. Stephen had no doctor. And he said, Mrs., he said, he must have had a doctor. And she said, sure, love, I'm telling you, Stephen was never ill. He only ever had a cold. He was never ill. He never needed a doctor. And Stephen had been laying on the ground, and I asked them would they place him on the bed. Would they put him back on the bed so that we could go up to him? And that's what we've done until our family started coming to the house to us just to be with us. Shortly afterwards then the guards arrived. They just had a few questions, to ask, and they spoke with the paramedics. And the care doc, I think, arrived as well. And then the priest arrived. This was all just, it seemed like, 5 or 10 minutes, but it was over the period of maybe an hour and a half. And so the house was quite small, and they had a bit of difficulty. And Stephen was such a big guy, taking him down the stairs, and they placed him then on the stretcher at the bottom of the stairs. And I remember asking Mum to come in, and she said, no, Melda, she said, I brought him into the house and I want to see him leave it, she said. So she watched Stephen being carried up the path and into the ambulance.
And then she came away from the door, came in and sat down.
That is the sign of a really strong mother.
She's unbelievable. She's old stock, Michael. That's what I put it down to, where the women of years ago had, I think, a much tougher, rearing and harder lives and stuff, and they just deal with things. Their faith is fantastic. My mother believes, and prays to the Sacred Heart, and she believes that Stephen was taken for a bigger cause, that his work here was done, and that he was needed elsewhere.
A post-mortem reveals Stephen Dee had a 92% blockage in one of the arteries in his heart. His family believe if he had gone for routine checks each year, he would be alive today.
Absolutely, I've no doubt in my mind. If Stephen had been in that, cycle, we'll say, of where he'd go to a doctor maybe once a year or twice a year and had his bloods done. That's something I do. So I know what my cholesterol is. I know, all the different functions. I know that when they come back, I'll just ring the nurse and she will tell me in the surgery how everything is and whether my cholesterol is up or down or whatever. And without a doubt, they would have picked up something with Stephen. There's no doubt in my mind.
And you think he would be alive today?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. There's no doubt at all. I'm not angry. Like, Stephen had, even though a short life, he had a wonderful life. He really did. And all the people that he touched. So I'm not angry. I'm just sad that it could have been prevented. And I truly believe that. He was a devil for red meat. He was a devil for chocolate, ice cream, you name it. He had a dessert every day after his dinner. And he would go to the fridge and he would take out the fruit cocktail, the jelly, the cream, the chocolate. It was layer upon layer of, I suppose, pure sugar maybe. And he might even post it on Facebook. He was always posting pictures of either Easter eggs or, cream eggs and whatever sort. So he had a very sweet tooth.
Do you think that it was purely lifestyle?
It was lifestyle, yeah. It definitely was. He wasn't a drinker, but he liked an occasional drink, if he was meeting up with his friends. But, that would be rare, that he would actually go on, and have a good few pints. He wasn't a drinker at all. It was definitely his lifestyle. Sometimes I sit at home and I look at it. I have his picture now on the mantelpiece, and I look at it and I think, our Stephen is dead. And it's hard to even just, I don't know whether I fully accepted it yet or not, but it is extremely hard. And Mum and myself will sit down, and Peter, and we reminisce about him all the time. He's constantly spoken about, but in a good way, because that's what he left, was good memories and happy times. We're doing okay. We have great support in our neighbours, our friends and our family. And we will get through it. And we'll never ever forget Stephen. Never.
Imelda says the outpouring of sympathy and support from the listeners to South East Radio is helping the family through a very difficult time.
I'd like to say on behalf of my family that the Wexford people have been fantastic. Stephen loved Wexford. Not only the people, but the beautiful scenery and everything that's down there on the coastline. And I'd just like to say thank you for welcoming Stephen into their homes every day. he loved the radio. He loved making people happy and making people smile. And please God, he's in a better place. And maybe my mother, you know, she often says to me, Melda, Jesus said that in his Father's house there are many kingdoms. And she believes that in one of those mansions that Stephen is doing an important job. And that's why he was called. And it's lovely for me even to take that, you know, and say, yeah, that's why his work here was done. And he needed to go further afield and maybe bring all the happiness that he gave to so many people here with him and give it to others.
10 years ago, Stephen Dee released a charity single called Mysterious People, and now South East Radio is going to use his music as a reminder to you as we launch a special awareness campaign in his memory.
Children are people who live in a land made of raindrops and colours and pebbles and streams, solemnly watching a twig as it sails to a clear crystal pool, to an island of dreams.
South East Radio's D-Day will take place on Friday the 23rd of May to help you identify the signs of a possible heart attack which could save your life. This Friday across County Wexford, a free blood pressure check is available at all Sam Macaulay pharmacies. South East Radio's D-Day is being supported by Stephen's family and the Irish Heart Foundation. If you can't make it on Friday, South East Radio will continue to play his song every day for the next 14 days as a reminder to you to get your health checked.
Oh, what a shame that our children should grow into people. Oh, what a shame that our children should grow into people.
This song goes back many generations in Stephen's family and was always associated with special family occasions.
Stephen loved that song. Again, it goes back to my grandmother's house in Congress Place. She lived one door away from us. And it was always a house for singing at Christmas time, and or you know, if there was an event of maybe a wedding or something like that, there would be a big sing song. And my uncle Jim, that was Jim's song, and we used to love to listen to. They all had their own songs that they sang. You know, it was their song. So every time we had a party going on, you would call on the person to sing that particular song. And for years as children we listened obviously to Jim singing.
Aidan Comerford clearly remembers the night he heard the news his best friend of 25 years had died suddenly.
I was sitting at home and my phone rang at about 11:15. Fergal rang me, and I just couldn't believe it. I said to him actually, no, I said, ring again. I said, because you must have that all wrong. I said, couldn't be said. But and then Fergal rang me back again. He said, no, it's true. He said, and that's when everything went pear-shaped. It was just disbelief. I just could not believe it. It took me like till the next morning, really, I suppose, till it hit in, till we spoke to Melda and the family.
And Stephen's cousin, Saul Doherty, has many happy memories of him.
He was a member of the FCA, and he used to always march on Patrick's Day, you know. And the joke in our family was to get Stephen Dee to look at you. And he wouldn't look, or to get him to laugh or to smile. And we would do everything when he passed. We would shout, scream, everything. And he wouldn't. It was like through the corner of his eye he'd look at you. But he'd tell you then afterwards. You know, he'd know it was you that was at the being shouting at him. But we tried, myself and my brother, we done everything to try and get a smile or even a glance, and he wouldn't. The same, the blessing of the Shamrock was the very same. He took it so serious, and he gave it 100%, and we'd be mocking behind the priest and behind all the rest of the soldiers and everything. We'd be mocking him and everything. No, he wouldn't even flinch, he wouldn't look at us, but he got on to us then afterwards. You know, like he said he wouldn't come and torment us from doing what we were doing. You know, but yet we were all set up to the barracks, or even standing on the quay when he passed the same thing. But one year the train was in the parade. And they were all in with the train and the parade and the whole lot. And he nearly fell out of the train, waving at us and shouting at us, and he made sure everyone.
He had me up on the back of the float with the trains, dressed in a teddy bear costume, waving at all the people going by, and it was just so funny going down the quay, and he was blowing the horn on the train going down the quay.
Morning is broken on Connolly Station, Dublin. It's busy as all the happy little engines, like Mary the tank engine, wait for the fat controller signal.
Oh, a very good morning, happy little tank engines,
said the fat controller.
Oh, Mary, why are you looking so sad on this lovely morning?
Well, Bertie, the steamer is sleeping on the job as usual. I always knew he wasn't up to a mainline position, said Mary the tank engine.
We went out in a punt one day. There was three of us, Fergal, myself and Stephen, and we were out by the hook. We're out from this little small punt, but the punt started taking on water, and we had a hand pump, and we were pumping. It's just going to get pump, come on, boy, pump, and we were pumping out the water, head back to shore. And the sun was beating down, and I always remember we even got sunstroke. Like, I got it. I ended up with the doctor. Burnt.
Moon river whiter than a mile, I'm crossing you in styles, my huckleberry friend. Moon river and me.
The bond between a mother and her son is something special. Stephen Dee had a very strong connection with his mother Ina. Imelda says this exceptional relationship developed from a very young age.
He absolutely idolised my mother, and she idolised Stephen. And he would take care of her. If he was going somewhere, he would ring and say, "Are you calling up? You know, Mam is going to be here," and Peter would be there as well, but just as the extra backup, he'd make sure that there was always somebody around for her. And I suppose, in a way, it was sad. After Stephen died, we only found out how he touched so many people, and that's when we really found out Stephen's caring side. We've spoken to people who never actually met him, but through the radio may have rang in at some stage about, maybe he asked for, ring in, tell your story or whatever, and Stephen got to know a lot of people that way, and he would ring people to see how they were. And this is what has come back to us, and Mammy has received quite a few letters from people in Wexford saying how, they love to listen to him, how he touched their lives. And that really showed his caring side. And he had so many good friends. He was involved with the Shore Valley Railroad. And, again, that's a caring side, to do anything voluntary like that. His whole life, actually, when you look back on it, was between the FCA and then I think they were called the Army Reserve, the military police. These are all voluntary things that he got involved with. Stephen, as a young child, he wore glasses, and it was kind of, he was picked on because of it in school, as were other kids. It wasn't only Stephen. But Mammy sort of felt that she needed to maybe protect him that little bit more than what she needed to do for Peter or myself. And as he grew up, he developed like a growth, yeah. And I think what it was a broken blood vessel that had sort of grown out the way. So he was being bullied when he went into secondary school over the growth on his face. And he came home one day crying. He said 2 lads were after holding him down, and they were going to cut this growth from his face, and Mammy just thought that's enough, and she brought him up to Surgeon Power at the time, who was up in the infirmary hospital, and got it removed. And so she was always there protecting Stephen because of I'm not saying now that he was bullied constantly in school or anything like that, but Mammy just felt that need to protect him more, and I suppose that's how their bond grew. So, you know, and then he never really moved away from home. You know, he did for a few years, all right, but Stephen always was a home bird.
She says Stephen always had a desire and a dream to work in radio.
The earliest memory I would have of Stephen is because we were so close in age, we played a lot together. And my father had bought an old style record player, and we would, you know, say to Mum and Dad, would you buy us a record? And Stephen would say to me, Melda, will you write out all the neighbours' names on a piece of paper? So I would write out, you know, one I'm thinking of in particular now would be Maggie and Billy Quinlan. They lived 3 doors down from us, and God rest them, they're both deceased now. But he would say, and this is a request for Maggie and Billy. So I would write it out, but Stephen would talk into a pretend microphone, and he would list out, you know, he would say why maybe it's their anniversary or their birthday or whatever, and this is the request, and then he would play a record. So that's my earliest memory of Stephen, is doing that, and we would do it for hours. And I'm just constantly writing and handing him notes, and he's there, the boss man, standing up, speaking into, it could be a bottle, it could be anything. But
so from a young age he had a passion for radio. What age would that have been?
That would have been, I'd say we might have been 7 and 8 at that time, you know, in or around that age. Yeah.
So he clearly knew what he wanted.
Oh, he knew what was ahead of him, definitely. Yeah, he loved music, and he had a beautiful voice.
Imelda says South East Radio's D-Day campaign is vital and is encouraging you to take part.
I would urge them to step back and just take time out just to look at themselves and see, you know, what sort of activities in their lives, what are they eating, are they smokers, whatever. Just step back and have a look and see what's going on in your life at the moment, and are there little things that, you know, that have been happening to your body that you've been ignoring or whatever, and take that step and just go to your GP. And, you know, it's 5 or 10 minutes in at the doctor's, and it could save your life. This campaign is so important, and we think it's wonderful that South East Radio have taken this on board, you know, to tell the South East, you know, if in doubt at all, go and get checked. Save your family the heartache maybe that we've gone through.